Do I get a special Keanu Reeves skin if I pre-order it?
Dude, if they sold the collector's edition with the Keanu Reeves statue, I would have bought that, to be honest, just for the statue alone.
Oh my god.
Honestly, though, you have played the game for a long time. Don't you have anything else to do with your time?
Gaming Blues Podcast.
Welcome to this week's Gaming Blues Podcast, the show with two polar opposite gamers discussing the hottest video games news and bicker about topics I come up with during my commute. My name is Andy, and always with me is the one and only Darren, I hate Resident Evil 1 McPhail.
I hate the original Resident Evil 1 McPhail to you.
This podcast is available on major podcast platforms including iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, Podbean, and whenever they approve it, Stitcher.
One day.
Welcome to the show.
Well, Andy, we certainly got a whole smack tab lot to talk about because it was E3.
We even took an extra day off to prepare, quote unquote prepare.
Quote unquote prepare.
Which just means looking at YouTube videos. But hey, still preparation.
Hey, counts. It's gotta mean for something.
So E3 2019 has to be one of the more, I would say, the oddest E3 of the year because we're missing some major...
technically it's the only E3 of the year.
Up till now. Go fuck yourself. The biggest news being that Sony wasn't going to actually show up for it and they will just have their own conference. And Nintendo is doing what Nintendo always does and does not actually have a physical presence but does their online presence.
They did demo on Wednesday of that week. They had all their demos, and they had the Treehouse stream, which they've been doing for the past 3-4 years.
Yeah, I'm saying like they didn't do a actual Xbox.
They didn't have a proper conference. The only conferences were what? Bethesda, Ubisoft, Microsoft,
EA.
Yeah, oh, I forgot about the EA one.
I was going to say E3. I was like, wait a minute, that's not a company.
Wait a minute, that's the name of the whole show. Maybe the ESA will have their own conference to beg people to show up next year, but we'll see. Yeah.
And also, Square Enix had their own conference. They took the Sony slot this year.
And to be fair, if Sony were there, it would have just been the Square Enix conference.
Very true. I mean, we would have also seen like hints about the new PS5 console, maybe, which has been leaked prior to E3.
Well, they announced it prior to E3. They had Mark Cerny do an interview.
It's not an official thing.
No, it's official. It's official as shit.
Okay,
he's like the lead designer / engineer. He's been like leading all of them, all the PlayStation systems.
Look, if I don't see a trailer like what Microsoft did with their Scarlet going like, it's gonna have 120 frames per second in a video that explains absolutely nothing, it's not official.
It is official. It was their actual. It's on their blog site.
Well, too bad.
They invited press to come talk to him so he could talk about it. And he talked about the loading times. And then later on, he did private demos that showed him loading in Spider-Man PS4, which on a normal PS4 has notorious loading times. And it was loading in like 5 seconds. Or less. What I'm
trying to say is they did not do the traditional style when they announced it at E3.
No.
No. That's what I'm trying to say.
My whole point is that they did it beforehand to like subvert, not just say subvert, but to like kind of shoot Microsoft in the foot a bit and be like, haha, we beat you with the announcement. Like their announcements plagued with, don't actually see the box. You don't actually know fully what you're getting. You just get their big buzzwords. And then Sony did the same thing, but just earlier. So Microsoft's entire press conference is undercut with, but PS5.
We're off to a great start. I gave blood today and I'm fucking tired. I'm freaking irritated. Great start to the podcast. If I feel annoyed, listeners, it's not because I hate Darren the guts.
It's because you're missing blood.
I'm just missing blood. I'm missing a lot of blood. Donate blood today, especially if you're in Canada. It's blood donation week. Go to
is it?
Blood donation clinics and give today. That's my plug. Hopefully.
Today, the Gaming Podcast is sponsored by
the Canadian Blood Donation Society.
Donate your blood to keep this podcast alive.
Give generously.
To all our 5-pound plus blood donors out there, you get this episode 1 week early.
To summarize the entire E3 event as a whole, I think even with the omission of Sony and other major players, I think it kind of went beyond expectation, I would say, because to be honest, I had low expectation going in, except for Square Enix's part.
But what made it go above your expectations?
I honestly thought that we already knew what they were going to show, but what we saw of the games we knew that was going to be there was amazing. And it's like content that I'm looking through over and over again on YouTube on repeat. For example, I say Final Fantasy VII Remake, we knew and saw the trailer going prior to the E3 because they announced it in the Final Fantasy VII concert, which was the day before, I think. Which
played some solid MIDI files.
I heard it sucked.
Yeah, they straight up had a whole orchestra there, and for a lot of songs and pieces, no one in the orchestra played anything, and they played the MIDI song from the original game and watched FMV video.
Yeah. They showed the extended trailer of the trailer they showed at the orchestra, and I thought... Well, for one thing, they showed up Tifa, which everyone wanted to see.
Yeah.
And they actually showed off more in-depth info about the battle system, which I liked.
Yeah. They showed off way more than anyone would have thought.
And you'll probably agree with me, Darren, that up until the Square Enix and the Nintendo conference, E3 was super dull.
Honestly, the only really big takeaway from E3 was that Keanu Reeves was there in Cyberpunk. That was like the big takeaway.
It really goes to show that if all people remember about E3 is Keanu Reeves showing up to introduce a game and nothing else up until that point.
He told people that they were wonderful.
Breathtaking. Get the word right. Breathtaking.
You're breathtaking.
No, you're breathtaking.
But, I mean, there was the one year where they had the Battlefield 1 demo, and it had all the celebrities playing it. It's like that E3, I think it was like 2015 or 2016. That was all memorable because Snoop Dogg was playing against Zac Efron in Battlefield, and it was like their big show moment. It was weird. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the weird shit works.
So I think... Yeah, even this year was lacking in some content. There were moments that made up for it. So yeah, it went beyond my expectation.
I think it was better than I anticipated because A, it's a really small show this year. B, we're missing Sony. And I think the big thing is we pretty much, every game shown we knew about, more or less. Like they were already announced, they already had trailers. But they showed off so many games. Specifically, Final Fantasy VII Remake and the Nintendo Direct, like you mentioned, those are what got people excited. Everything, but those they didn't even need to be at E3, like those types of announcements. No. They could have existed without it. So E3 was carried by those two. Like Ubisoft had a really poor conference. Bethesda's conference was a joke with the one guy going, "Woo! Yeah! Fallout 76 Battle Royale, I'll play 50 that. 50 players. That was some Banjo-Kazooie right there.
Okay, so here's how it's going to go down for this podcast. We will go through each of the games Darren and I had remote interest in and or super excited about one by one. And we will share our thoughts about it.
I figure there's not much value in us talking about the stuff we do not care about. And besides, there's a lot of podcasts and streams and videos out of your various online personalities gushing. And you have people who are just watching the conferences. Like, I think the best example is Pat from Angriest Pat and Pat Stares At, formerly of Super Best Friends. He's like sleeping through most of the conferences. Mm-hmm. I only watched like bits and pieces of his footage, but like he was sleeping through most of it because outside of Square and Nintendo, it was all pretty boring.
I had more interest watching Apple's keynote introducing their software than watching an E3 conference. That wasn't Sony, Square Enix, or Nintendo.
Shows a lot.
especially the PC gamer one. Oh my god.
So let's just get this shit rolling.
First one on the list. You know, we talked about the hit of the show, Keanu Reeves.
He is now the internet's darling.
Let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077, which I consider the Deus Ex 3 I will never get, but CD Projekt Red is awesome and will bring it to me game.
First of all, Cyberpunk existed well before Deus Ex. Second of all, this is a different style of game. Similar themes and settings, but it's going to be a very different kind of sort of thing. Like, I have no doubt it's going to be really good. It's probably going to be out, my guess is late next year, maybe 2021. Big game. That's what
Did they announce the release date for that?
I think they did. I think they said it's coming out, I think it's like October of next year?
April 16th, you fool.
Okay, earlier than I thought. But let's be real. It's going to be pushed back. They pushed back The Witcher a couple times. Witcher 3. And they did for good reason, because the games kick ass, and they made it really good, and they only killed half their development studio doing that. So
now they can kill the other half.
Yeah, now they can really get everyone working. But I mean, it looks good. It looks promising. They didn't really show a lot new outside of Keanu Reeves being in the game, apparently.
I mean, that must be like a big seller for a lot of people. Like,
yeah, but I wonder how big his role is. Like, is he like your mentor character? Is it kind of like, oh my god, I'm forgetting the actor's name, but do you know the actor who does Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones?
I do not, but I know who you're talking about.
But they had a big announcement at a E3, or it might have been a Gamescom, where he showed up, and he didn't show up, but they showed him off being the emperor of an empire in Witcher 3. He's the Nilfgaardian emperor, and he sounds just like his Game of Thrones counterpart. And this was like at the peak of Game of Thrones popularity, so everyone was going nuts that they got him for the game. So they've brought in like famous, Western actors before.
Tywin Lannister, right?
Yes, Tywin.
Portrayed by Mr. Charles Dance.
Yes, he is such a good actor. That guy is amazing. And he killed it in Witcher 3, and Keanu Reeves is a cool dude. I like him. I don't know if his inclusion in Cyberpunk 2077 makes it a better game, or it doesn't change like my views on buying it, but it's neat. They'll get that Fortnite crowd, that John Wick crossover.
One thing I heard about the people who played the actual E3 demo is that how do I explain this easily? Like, if you're in Borderlands, you know how Athena or the siren like talks to you every now and then, like leading you toward like the right direction.
Yeah.
I think Keanu Reeves apparently plays that role. He's like the voice in your head that talks every now and then. So he will be with you always.
Okay, this game just became 11 out of 10. I want to hear Keanu Reeves whispering in my ear as I go about my objectives. Hey, you need to go right. Stab that guy.
Shoot that guy.
Hey, get to the objective.
Isn't this game breathtaking?
No, you're breathtaking.
I was talking to Darren about this game prior to this, and I think we're I have mixed feelings about this game, to be honest.
Cyberpunk?
Like initially,
or are you transitioning to a different title?
Cyberpunk.
Okay.
My segues are not vague like this, sir. My segues are crisp, clean, and to the point.
We'll see.
Like initially, the original trailer you saw where you saw like the cybernetic girl. I don't know what the correct like wording is. Augmented girl, I should
Cyborg?
say. Cyborg, yeah. When I initially saw that trailer, I was like super hyped. Like, wow. It's like, okay, I'll be very honest. I'm not that knowledgeable in the whole Cyberpunk history in terms of like game, thematic lore, and the history behind like, in movies and whatnot.
Like most people.
Yeah, just take me as the ignorant casual. From what I could relate to is like, oh, it's Blade Runner the game. like this is sick.
Blade Runner is hugely inspired by like all the same source material, and chances are this is probably hugely inspired by Blade Runner.
Like I love the nightlife and the contrast between the dark city and the neon lights and like the culture behind the cyberpunk. That's what initially hooked me in the initial trailer, which they showed like a couple of years ago. But now that I see the current version, like the CG trailer they show where the main protagonist like takes the arm hands out and start killing people.
You know, Adam Jensen had elbow swords. This guy just has arm swords.
Internal forearm swords, like shot. I was like, that's cool, but I don't know. Like the rest of the gameplay they showed, at least at the demo, as far as I can tell, because we're not at E3 and we can't really tell. Other than the video we saw on YouTube, there's a lot of like daylight portions and everything's really colorful. Even the logo they shifted from like a dark one to like a neon blue and yellow, which Darren said, it's only a logo, so that shouldn't really be representative of the game. But like, I'm sort of having questions about the direction they're taking.
I mean, I'm fine with it because I know there's going to be a lot of nighttime segments. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a balance between nighttime and daytime. So, like it might even just be a day and night cycle like Witcher 3, which would make perfect sense. So, we'll see. But I honestly think it's going to turn out well. I have a lot of faith in this development studio. They've earned a lot of goodwill with Witcher 3 and their past titles. And after seeing the studio at their height with the Witcher 3 DLCs, which I think is some of the best RPG gameplay content we've ever gotten in any game, I think they'll kill this. Because it's a property that has a long storied history as a tabletop RPG, now turned into a full-blown RPG, but there's a lot to look forward to with it. And I think they'll deliver on it, and I'm curious to see how it plays once I get my hands on it.
Did you pre-order it?
Not yet, because I don't generally pre-order games. Do I get a special Keanu Reeves skin if I pre-order it?
Dude, if they sold the collector's edition with the Keanu Reeves statue, I would have bought that, to be honest, just for the statue alone.
Oh my god. The power of Keanu Reeves. He will make us buy anything.
Somehow that guy became known as just Neo back in like several years ago. Now he's a John Wick guy. Now he's just loved by
now he's just Keanu Reeves. Now he's transcended his individual characters and is now just a meme.
Like whatever he does, people will love, and he's such a down-to-earth guy. Like,
he really is. He's a great dude, and I think he is breathtaking.
Everybody is gay for Keanu Reeves.
It's not gay. It's Keanu Reeves.
That's the podcast title right there. Oh boy. Speaking of CD Projekt Red.
Oh.
Minor game news before we transition to another title. The Witcher 3 has been announced for Nintendo Switch. Why?
Does it run at 30? Do they confirm that?
They just confirmed it this morning, I think. I think it plays at 720p.
Which, fair. Not even the Xbox One version at launch ran at 1080. It ran at like 900 something.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, you know how Breath of the Wild undocked only get like you can last like 2 hours ish playing the game?
Skyrim is even worse.
Yeah.
Skyrim's even worse. Skyrim's like an hour and a half.
Witcher's not gonna last a lot under fucking
unless they optimize the shit out of it. I'm gonna be super curious to see how that runs. Because like the actual screenshots don't look terrible, but they definitely look not as good as a PC version. And the other console ports already suffered from not looking great.
All right, you ready for this, Darren? I got the actual specs in front of me. The Witcher Switch version will run 540p on handheld, and it will run 720p with dynamic resolution enabled on screen, which I'm guessing is 720p. What just like some kind of like HDR / high resolution pack magic.
Mm-hmm.
Which is okay, I guess. like it really begs the question of all the releases during like the Nintendo conference. There's a lot of Switch ports coming for
There's
the
a
Switch.
shit ton of Switch games coming out.
How do you actually feel about that? Like they're doing the whole thing where they're not releasing original games as much, and they're just resorting to remasters and/or ports of existing games to like fill its library.
Well, you have to keep in mind Nintendo doesn't normally get access to a lot of third-party stuff. So for the Switch is like the first time since like Super Nintendo, GameCube even, that the third parties have wanted to develop or port over their games. And I think having everything on Switch is cool, especially for games that lend themselves well to portable play or being able to go back and forth. And I think just letting more people play games is awesome. That's why I'm always a big advocacy for getting games on Steam or getting games on like all the consoles. Like I think that's great. More people get to play it. Helps fill like the problem would I'd only have a problem with it if that's all Nintendo showed. And they're like, we're only showing you Witcher 3 ports. We're only showing you our indie games that are like third parties that we're helping pay for or what have you. But since it's a combination, I think it's a stronger package overall. And it's kind of neat to have Witcher 3 on a cartridge with all the DLC and everything together. Like that's kind of cool. I might buy that just for curiosity's sake.
I think the only gripe or concern I have with all these Switch ports is well, for the first thing, it's not aimed at me. This is only aimed at people who only have Switch as their main gaming console.
Or just people who want to play these games on the go.
But my problem is they're actually asking for, let's take the Resident Evil ports for example. I think there will be at least $49.99 release.
Isn't
for physical.
Resident Evil 4 like $30-something? Which
Yes.
is really expensive considering the PC version, which the 4 ports on Switch is based off of, is like $20 base price. So Nintendo has the Nintendo tax.
Like $5.
Like for instance, we'll talk about this later, but their whole Mana collection, that costs on the Canadian eShop is $50 plus tax. Mm-hmm. Which is frickin' steep for a port of a Game Boy game and 2 Super Nintendo games. Like, that's a steep asking price. And Nintendo's notorious. Like, a great example is, this is kind of like a low-key announcement / leak they had with Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch coming out to modern systems as a remaster, and then the PS3 version is being ported to Switch. And the messed up thing is, both the remaster and the Switch port are the same price, and the Switch version is literally just the PS3 version. Mm-hmm. And you can go out to any game store and buy that for like $15. And for the same game, they're basically charging you nearly full, like $50 for it. So I'm not a fan of that. Like for ports like that, I usually wait for a sale, or I need to really like the game to want to buy that.
That's also the thing too. Nintendo Switch games rarely goes on sale. Even if it's like games of like existing IPs.
It's pretty much only the third-party stuff goes on sale. Their stuff seldom does. Like right now, Mario Kart's on sale, but it's only like a $15 sale. It's not like if you go on the PlayStation Store right now, you could get Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition for like $12. You're never going to see that for a Nintendo first party. And even their third-party stuff seldom gets that cheap.
I think the best consumer thing, in my opinion, would be they can't do this for all games, but let's take the Resident Evil one for example. If they bundle up 5 and 6 into one game, then I wouldn't mind paying the full MSRP for that, which is $79 in Canadian and $59 USD, and or they just release it as an online version and make it cheap. And that's the one thing I don't get either. Like the online version price and the physical price is the same. That shouldn't be the case. The online version should be a bit cheaper because you're not paying for the packaging.
It's like that on consoles too. PS4 is similar, where they charge you more or less the same.
Like overall, like that's one practice I don't understand for.
I don't agree with it either. It's the whole convenience versus getting the physical thing. So it literally just comes down to a preference of how lazy you are versus, or how busy you are, I guess is another way to look at it. Like, are you going for the convenience, or do you want a physical version of this? Even though physical copies in this day and age have less value than ever.
Unless you really rely on EB for the trade promotions. Which, I have a funny story to tell about that.
You're not going to be able to rely on it for much longer.
No. Here's the thing. They always have sales during E3s. All the big retailers give discounts. The most common one was like, oh, we'll take 30% off of all your E3 pre-orders.
Yeah.
So what EB Games did is, if you trade 2 qualifying games, I'm talking from the perspective of GameStop for the States and EB Games in Canada, we'll give that pre-order for free. Trade 2 games, qualifying, get a pre-order for free.
Wow.
Here's the funny part. There's a game called Carnival Games, which I don't know what it is, but it's apparently a collection of Carnival games. It's on the list. It qualifies as for the trade-in. So theoretically, if you bring 2 in, you can get E3 pre-order for free. Best Buy at the time, so the joke is like this game was retailing for like $29 or like $49.99, give or take. This game went on sale at Best Buy for $19.99.
Oh no.
So let's do the math here. Our E3 pre-order game cost $79.
Now it's all of a sudden like $50.
Yep, you just buy 2 of those Carnival games, and you'll save like $30 to $40. And here's what I heard.
Is that still going on?
Here's the kicker. So that qualifies for all 3 systems, not just Xbox. So what I heard was someone actually brought in like 30 of those.
Oh my god.
Or something like that to trade in. And they had to take it down on the trade list. Because they didn't know Best Buy was running a sale on that game.
Oh my god, that's so bad. Oh. They're doomed. They have no hope.
And here's the extra thing. I don't know if this is coincidence, but at the same time, EB Games had announced that their online price checking system on their website. So you don't have to call in or check some like weekly PDF every time to see like how much your game is worth.
That's freaking wild.
Yep. So one EB is just stuck with 30 copies of Carnival games for Xbox One.
That's so freaking dumb.
Speaking of dumb,
Bethesda
games.
Is there anything there that you actually want to talk about?
Yeah, it's a minor touch. So I don't really care about the Fallout games. I'll be very honest. I play 3 and 4. I don't know. I play 3 and New Vegas. Fun games. I didn't play 76 because for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I did not expect, and this was out of left field. Well, not really. Shinji Mikami, the original, I would say, the visionary behind Resident Evil, and is also the director of the Evil Within series, which Bethesda published, I think?
Yes, they published both of them.
Yes. So he came on the stage. Maybe people expected, oh, another Evil Within game is coming out. Ooh. And this time he brought someone else with him. I think her name is
You don't know the name of your new favorite developer?
All I could think of was Keanu Reeves. I'm sorry. Keanu Reeves is my favorite developer now, okay?
Shinji Mikami and Keanu Reeves present.
All right. Ghostwire. So this new game Shinji Mikami-san announced called Ghostwire Tokyo. He brought on Miss Ikumi Nakamura, the creative director. And after some research, I found out that she was the creative director behind games like Okami and Bayonetta. So she has some pedigree behind her that she can create visually super appealing games.
Yeah, don't say attractive. Bayonetta's really weird looking.
Appealing. So they announced a new game called Ghostwire Tokyo. Now, it was only a CG trailer, but what you see in the trailer is very uncanny valley level of like Tokyo in a way. Like the graphics in that game in the trailer kind of like creeped me out because like this looks semi-real.
I mean, it was all CG, right?
Even if it was CG, I'm like, wow, like we finally have reached a point where, they can just create realistic looking Tokyo. So the premise is people are just suddenly vanishing, leaving only their clothes behind. And there's obviously some Japanese...
There's a Japanese girl, like a shrine maiden ghost out there somewhere doing this.
Just picking up people and making them disappear. And the main protagonist, or antagonist maybe, is a black hooded man holding a bow enchanted with some probably yokai powers, who knows. And the joke going around is he's Hawkeye from the Avengers, and this is basically what he was doing in Tokyo when everyone was looking for the Infinity Stones.
But Andy, this wasn't the Square Enix conference. They don't have that connection.
No, think about it. People are disappearing suddenly, and there's a Hawkeye-looking character with a bow killing people.
It's just
coincidence.
It's just a creative coincidence.
Anyway,
yeah. It's
to get back on the real track, I think the premise is really good for a horror game. It's really colorful. The graphics are insane, even for a CG trailer.
Andy, it's a CG.
Let me finish. I know I shouldn't fall for CG trailers ever since the Killzone 2 incident, but for a CG trailer, it really got me hooked. And the talent behind it, as you said about the Cyberpunk, how the developer, their pedigree with The Witcher 3, gives you the confidence that their game will do well. And since Nakamura-san is doing this, and her background is games like Okami and Bayonetta,
but
also gives,
correct
and
me
Shinji Mikami gives me confidence that it will be good.
But she is a character designer / artist, correct?
Yes.
She's not actually a game designer / director.
She will be working along with. She's basically a director. I think.
Isn't Shinji Mikami the director? Or is he producing?
I think she's the one taking over because people are talking about how she's like the new young talent, given the directing role.
Because I was gonna say you're reading a lot. You're like those people when that frickin' PlayStation State of Play Final Fantasy VII trailer came out. You're like one of those, pulling all these things out of this trailer, whereas I watch it, I'm like, I don't know how this actually plays. I don't know what the game is.
I'll be very honest, even for that Final Fantasy trailer, when I first saw it, wasn't that amazed. I wasn't. But my point is, you're getting an extreme amount out of not a lot, and I'm curious to see how that pays off in the game, because I don't even know what the gameplay is. You don't even know what the gameplay is. But that's the point of getting people hyped, though, and it worked for me.
I know.
Those casual plebs that you're talking about gets excited over trailers.
I'm just remarking that I find it very interesting that you're this excited over something that we have so little for. I find that very interesting.
I'm a fucking weeb. You throw anything Japanese mythology my way, I'm like, shit, I'm sold. Just take my money. Fuck.
Dang. So you're gonna get that Rice game then for Switch, right?
I'm semi-cautious because they made I Am Setsuna. Again, pedigree.
Pedigree, yeah.
Pedigree. Everything's about pedigree and Keanu Reeves, but
everything's pedigree and Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo. Anticipated game, even though I know nothing about it. That's how boorish this E3 was. A trailer got me hyped over more than the other games.
I mean, that's fair. It's an action adventure with supernatural elements.
It might be evil within modern day Tokyo with bows.
We'll have to see.
Put that on your radar, people. It might be a hit of the year,
or
not this
it
year,
might be
but
like Evil Within 1.
Even that game, I was super hyped for by the trailer.
Well, power to you, I suppose.
I will remember this moment. I called it. Ghostwire Tokyo will be good.
All right, it's recorded. It's out there.
I hope it's good.
We got him.
We got him. It'll be good, I swear. I mean, to be honest, like, what else we got to be hyped about? We got so many games coming out like end of this year. The next few years gonna be like really could be a bit slow because we're getting so much by the end of the year and like early.
There's a lot that's going to be coming out by the end of June, and then coming forward, there's going to be a lot. So we have a lot to look forward to. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff.
August, September, November is going to be insane this year. Speaking of things releasing soon, which one do you want to tackle first? Pokemon or...
I thought it would make more sense before going to Nintendo stuff. I think we should just do all the Nintendo stuff at once, since that was like a closed ecosystem of excitement.
All right. Then I know how to do this. We're not even going to touch the Sony yet. I'm going to do speed round. I'm going to say games of things that were announced, and let's see if we care about it or not. Ready? Mm-hmm. Halo Infinite. Gears 5. We're done. Oh, hold on. Star Wars Fallen Order. I'm semi-excited for that only because it actually looks like a decent action game.
They did just confirm that there will be no limb cutting in that game. Bit of a bummer for me. Because if you ever played the Jedi Knight game, specifically Jedi Knight Outcast on PC, you could put in a cheat code and your lightsaber all of a sudden becomes a one-shot kill, but enemy lightsabers become a one-shot kill against you, and limbs fly off. Mm-hmm. So when you go around fighting stormtroopers, all of a sudden it's way more entertaining. So you cut a guy at the leg and he falls over because his leg's cut off. It's a cool mechanic, and it makes lightsaber duels super intense because the instant one of you gets hit, you're like chopped in half. So
in the new game, none of that.
The new game is clearly more of an action adventure. It looks more like Prince of Persia than like a character action game, which Jedi Knight was always a Borderland, like somewhere between is borderline first-person shooter, third-person character action game, but like late 90s, early 2000s style character action game where combat was very loose but quick. Whereas this looks to be a much tighter, polished title, more like an Uncharted or Tomb Raider style thing with the wall running, how you maneuver the environment, and then combat is combo based, but it also is power based. So it looks somewhere, I'd say if you look at like Prince of Persia, like that's what this looks like, which is cool. Not exactly what I want out of a Star Wars game, but I'm probably not the target demographic.
Who is a target demographic for this game?
Kids who play Star Wars and who like Star Wars movies. It's for the next gen. It's for the people that are watching the TV shows, who are watching the movies. And the one thing I think is disappointing about this game is that it's set between episodes 3 and 4, which, as of the new continuity, when they took out all the other Expand Universe stuff, is probably the most used setting for films and spin-offs. I would prefer to see like stuff between like 6 and 7 because we don't know what the fuck happened between those movies.
I'm pretty sure they'll make spin-off movies for that.
Oh, they're going to make spin-off movies of everything. Chewbacca's going to get his own movie at some point, where everyone's going to get their own movie. Keanu Reeves is going to get his own movie.
Lando Calrissian movie featuring Keanu Reeves.
I mean, it's kind of Han Solo. But,
not black. Anyway.
Yeah, Jedi Knight Fallen Order, I'm sure it'll be fine, but I'm not convinced it's going to be a big hit, or if it's going to be something I'll really care about.
I'm surprised they were pushing how great the Frostbite engine is, because they're showing off all
EA
this like,
is
demo.
Requiring all their studios to use it. It's why Anthem sucked. It's because they forced them to use Frostbite, and that engine was not meant for that. It was meant for freaking Battlefield. It wasn't meant for like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. Like their developers had so many headaches trying to frickin' because they forced them to use Frostbite because they put so much money in developing it.
But Frostbite has great hair engine.
It's got great snow. I'll tell you that much.
And particles. Moving on. Let's see. What else did they announce? Oh, Fallout 76 has a Battle Royale mode. Pass.
Doom Eternal looks good. Surprising nobody.
Go buy it. I might buy it when it goes on sale, but I might buy it when it goes on sale.
You should play the first or the rebooted Doom, because that's a really good game.
I think I have that.
It's really good. You should.
All right. I think this is the major one that you might be more interested in than I am. The Elden Ring from Software, starring George R.R. Martin's writing. got announced.
Yeah, that's the keynote. Seems to be based off of Nordic mythology. There's already lore videos out about it, so could be cool. I would prefer to see gameplay over like this. My reaction to this is the opposite of your reaction to Ghostwire, which is I'm like, okay, cool, glad it exists. Come back when you have gameplay. Because if I don't know what the actual game is, I don't care.
Is this an Xbox exclusive?
No. They just showed it off at the conference. Just like Tales of Arise.
I was talking about with you on how I was like, you should get an Xbox One so you can play Tales of Arise.
And I was so confused. I was like,
why?
Why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense. Because that game is multi-platform, but Microsoft probably gave them a bit of a bit of spotlight, a little bit of money. But hey,
yeah, don't talk about it during
this is
the
one of the
Nintendo
14,
conference.
This is one of the
talk
14 games coming to Xbox. Come to our conference, and it's like, oh yeah, coming out to Steam and PS4 as well. But that actually looks really cool. Tales of Arise is awesome. For those that don't know, I'm a big Tales fan. Haven't played one in a hot minute, but we've been using the same engine since Tales of Xillia, which is a 2009 PS3 game, all the way up until 2016. Finally, they invested in a new engine that prioritizes frame rate and a unique cell-shaded visual style.
Shell shading.
Seashells by the seashore.
They shade my shells with the seashells.
Winners go home. But point being, Tales of Rise looks really cool. It has a story that involves two different planets and two different protagonists from different planets meeting each other, and they go on an anime adventure, and it looks cool. And it's the first time in like 5 years I've been excited about a new Tales game.
And they finally broke out of the... Well, did they actually show gameplay for that trailer?
They have pieces of gameplay out there.
Is it still like flat 2D? No, not flat 2D. The camera still locks in like that kind of horizontal viewpoint.
I don't think so. Ever since Zestria, you could move the camera.
Okay.
It's been
more... What's so different about this game then? Is this a new engine?
New engine. So it's going to be a new battle system, new gameplay, and it's going to be more... It's honestly just a chance for the series to finally not look like a budget title. Which is great, because the Tales series has been made on a budget since like 2008, 2005, no, 2005. Or maybe even earlier, because they almost came out annually. So it's high time they finally got a new engine. This looks really promising. I don't have a lot to go on for the story yet, but from a gameplay and visual perspective, I'm really excited to finally have a new take on this series.
Awesome. All right, next game on the we don't know much about, so we're going to pass over. Double Fine has been acquired by Microsoft, I think.
Maybe, I don't know. I personally am ambivalent to anything they create.
So they announced Psychonauts 2. I think they announced that they have been acquired by Microsoft Games, because I think I saw Double Fine Twitter answering, yeah, they gave us a lot of money, and that explains the whole acquisition process. See, this is how much we care about Psychonauts 2. I'm sorry.
I mean, it just looks like Psychonauts 1, which is really cool for people who want that, but I don't.
All right, let's quickly touch up on Ubisoft, on what they showed. They showed a bunch of Rainbow Six.
Grandma's attacking people.
New Watchdog.
Grandma's attacking people.
New Division 2 content. And another new Rainbow Six content, Quarantine, which I heard is a 3-person co-op mode. Fun. They also teased a new game, which wasn't an Assassin's Creed game. And I was like, what the hell, Ubisoft? You actually know how to make other things than like Assassin's Creed. But the title escapes me. It's like a cartoon style game.
I mean, I don't know.
Fuck. Oh my god. I know I'm probably gonna cut the Ubisoft for after the Rainbow Six part. Who knows?
But Ubisoft had nothing really exciting to show. It was probably the weakest conference. It's cool that they showed off content they could show off anywhere. It didn't really matter that they showed it off at E3.
Alright, so that's Ubisoft out of the way. Bethesda announced the Fallout stuff, Ghostwire. E3 announced another new
E3?
FIFA, obviously. Oh, sorry, EA. Ugh. I gave blood. EA announced a new FIFA, which is an annual thing, so who cares? And then the Star Wars.
Which we gone over.
And that pretty much was it.
Like Microsoft had stuff like Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which is cool because Ori and the Blind Forest is a cool game. They showed off The Outer Worlds, which is Obsidian's new game, which looks like a BioShock-esque Fallout first-person style RPG. It has an exclusivity deal at the Epic Games Store as well, which is a bit of a bummer. But it looks really cool, and all the demos and all the feedback for it have been really well received. So it's probably going to be really good. It's not exclusive to Xbox, but they showed it off like it was. There's Minecraft Dungeons for people. Not for us, per se. But the biggest... Andy, what's the biggest event out of the Microsoft conference?
The biggest event?
What is the biggest announcement they had?
Keanu Reeves?
No. Guess again.
Project Scarlet?
Guess again.
That was my guess, to be honest.
Well, you're wrong! We're getting Phantasy Star Online 2 in the West!
That's also coming for PS4 and Switch. And
yes, but they had a partnership deal with Xbox, which is why it was at the Xbox conference, even though it's coming out to everything. But who cares? Phantasy Star Online 2 is coming out to the freaking West after like 8 years. That's fucking crazy. I'm excited to play it because I'm a fan of the classic Genesis games. I missed out on playing the original Phantasy Star Online, and god damn it, I created a Japanese online account to play, and I used an IP address switcher to play Phantasy Star Online 2 in Japanese.
Is that illegal?
Years ago. I still get Japanese emails from Sega asking me and telling me about promotions for the game. I'm excited to play in English because it's pretty fun and it's free.
Is it fun?
Yeah, it's like an action RPG. It's got like a really cool addictive element to it. Like it's a good game. It's just something that we've not really been able to play, especially because Sega Japan keeps banning people who don't use IP address switchers.
Give me your elevator pitch on why the game is good.
You have exciting, fast-paced RPG combat. You have a unique character system that involves your level ups, and you also have a unique crafting system based off the drops. Think Monster Hunter, but in a space setting.
How does it stack up nowadays?
I couldn't tell you because I haven't played it in like 6 years. But I'm excited to try it again. And it's free, so what do I have to lose?
Major disappointment.
But I suffer that with every new game.
Oof. But yeah, I was actually surprised by they actually bothered to bring it over to the West after all these years.
It came out of nowhere. And the cool thing is, it's another home console game.
Unless you play it on PC.
Well, I mean, it's an MMO playable on a console, which is cool.
Do you think a lot of people... Okay, here, two-part question. A, will Western people care outside of those who actually know the series? And B, do people even know what Phantasy Star Online is?
No.
And no. No to both.
It's probably not going to go super well, but who knows?
I mean... Well, this is a bad take, but free-to-play MMORPGs do well as long as they keep providing content for
And
it.
this
For
game
example,
has. This game's had content come up until now, including a brand new supersized boob slider. And the ability to add 6 boobs to your character.
Did you say 6?
Did I stutter?
Moving on.
It's true. It's funny because that patch dropped right before this announcement, so people were Googling Phantasy Star 2. Phantasy Star Online 2, and this popped up as a news story.
On anybody? Any female class?
Right now, type in Phantasy Star Online 2 into your Google search.
I'm good. Because I saw the niche gamer post about like how people are Googling it, and they're finding about the article that explains like the boob slider and the 6 boob.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
Isn't there a mech class in that game?
Yes,
too? So
there's robots. It's cool. Like if you ever played Phantasy Star Online or the Phantasy Star Zero on the DS or any of the PSP games, it's all those core classes are carried over. And it's a shared universe with all that stuff. So there's callbacks to everything. It's cool. This game's fun. Believe me, give it a try at the very least.
I watched the anime and the anime tanked.
The anime sucked. Don't watch the anime.
Great. I'm just at a loss that you're enthusiastic about a boob slider.
Not truly, but it's an exciting thing because it's like a trending search topic for this game. It's what people are going to remember it for.
Oh, Lord.
It's going to be the big takeaway. It's going to be part of their marketing, maybe.
All right, let's wrap up the Microsoft section. They also announced Gears 5.
Which everyone knew about.
And expected and assumed. And it came true.
Yep.
And spoilers from Gears 4, the main female character, whose name escapes me, is related to the Locust Queen from the original trilogy. And they're trying to figure out what to do about that.
Is it
Gears
Marcus
5.
Phoenix's mom?
No.
What?
That's what people speculated, but I don't think that was true.
No, it's not true. I personally don't really care about the Gears story all that much, so...
The original trilogy was okay.
My wife.
Everyone's wife.
Tom!
Okay. I think I will make this a different podcast topic, but touch on it quickly. Xbox did their thing again when they did Xbox Scorpio and they announced a new console with some random ass name called Project Scarlet. And it's got to have 120 FPS, 8K resolution.
How many teraflops?
It does not say if it's using the new Ryzen CPU architecture with their new AMD Navi GPU architecture.
That was their big push for Xbox One, was teraflops.
Teraflops. No teraflops this time. Okay, so we're done. We're done through the... Well, I shouldn't say like the minor one, but quote unquote, the lesser of.
Compared to everything else, this is the small fry shit.
So if you have stayed with us for the first hour, welcome to the actual content of this podcast.
Welcome to the part where we're actually passionate.
We actually care about
Well, I cared about boob sliders, but here we are.
Who doesn't? I super peaked there. Let me do that again.
6.
Who doesn't care about boob sliders?
6, Andy. 6.
Can I place them anywhere I want?
Yes!
Ew.
You can.
What's wrong with you people?
It's not me. I didn't make it.
All right, let's go. This is actually a good problem. Which one do we tackle first? Do we tackle Square Enix first, or do we tackle Nintendo? I say we tackle Nintendo first because you have a lot to talk about for the Square Enix side, especially for those Secret of Mana releases.
I don't really have that much to say.
What kind of JRPG guy are you? We're talking Nintendo, people.
No, but if you look at it and go, whoa, they're bringing over Seiken Sendetsu 3, which is Secret of Mana 2, which is the third Mana game. That's crazy. It's like, that's all I really have to say, because it's fucking random.
Some JRPG guy you
So
are.
basically, they released a Mana Games collection, which comes with the original Game Boy game, which is like a Zelda-esque top-down action RPG. It comes with Secret of Mana, which is one of the most overrated Super Nintendo games of all time and kind of plays like trash. And they brought over Seiken Sentetsu 3, which is one of the big lost gems of the Super Famicom era. It never came out in North America. It's a super polished, really good-looking Super Nintendo action RPG. Highly recommend looking at it. It's like one of the first games I personally ever emulated and used a fan patch to play. It's been out for a long time and playable in that format. It is now brought over as part of this Mana collection, which came out in Japan like 2 years ago at the Switch launch. And everyone in the West was like, oh, why don't we get that? Then out of nowhere, they announced it. They announced they're bringing over the third Mana game. It's called Trials of Mana now. And on top of that, they're going, hey, bitches, we're remaking Trials of Mana. You just got it for the first time. Now here's a full-blown remake that actually looks kind of good. Which is shocking, because their Secret of Mana modern remake port was of questionable quality and of mixed quality. So that's the whole bit about it. That's all it is. That's all it is. They're bringing over a game they never brought over out of nowhere, and they're also remaking it, which is crazy. Maybe it'll be good. Cool. Mm-hmm. It's cool. I bought it, so it's done. That's it.
All right, guess we're talking Square Enix. So,
all right, let's talk about Game of Show. Outlanders.
No. Outriders. Get your shit right.
I'm lying. We're not talking about it.
Let's go over it quickly.
No.
Not Outriders. First things first. Every single Final Fantasy music of the main game is now available for music streaming, which is awesome. Because up until now, I've been just listening to it on YouTube. And or do what Darren does, do IP shifting and or do VPN to access the American iTunes, because they have all the Square Enix music when the Canadian one doesn't. But now it's available in Canada.
Hooray!
Fuck yeah. Now, if only they can bring the Nier music, I'd be very happy. But
we're almost there.
We're almost there. My Diva statue fell over. Fuck. Keeping up the tradition of the remaster, Final Fantasy VIII has been HD remastered.
Didn't we literally just talk about the possibility of a port like last episode?
Yes, we did. And I was talking about how they might just do the whole Final Fantasy VII Remake treatment. I think you argued that they're just going to bring over or just remaster it, like updating the textures and whatnot.
And they did.
And which was funny because we're talking about like, oh, they have to pull from like the original source. Do they even have the original code anymore?
They pulled from a ROM for sure.
So I heard it was good according to the people who played it on site. So given how I didn't actually play 8 that much and I hate the draw system, I might try this again.
I would be down to try it for the novelty of it, especially since growing up, I didn't really care for Final Fantasy VII in general, like growing up, but then like later in life, I grew an appreciation for it, and then my playthrough now, I've been enjoying it. So, I've played other main Final Fantasy games since I didn't grow up enjoying them that much, but I think it could be cool, and the graphics, like the new visuals, look like really good. Like, the new character models are of outstanding quality. And half the reason to play that game is for the music alone, because the music's really good in 8.
I hope the music's also somewhat remastered in a way.
Probably not. With a Square Enix port, don't give your hopes up.
I mean, they did it for X and X2.
Yeah, but they made a much bigger deal out of that. And they're also not taking MIDI tracks.
One can only hope.
Yeah.
All right, another one on the remaster list. Crystal Chronicles, which was only available on the GameCube.
And you needed that GBA cord to properly play it in a Game Boy Advance.
Now is available on mobile.
Huh.
Remastered.
It's there for somebody.
Also for Switch and PS4. It's actually coming to a Sony console now. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess something does come out good from this whole remastered debacle, that you can play games that was exclusive to only like one console. I can play anywhere. Good on you. All right, one last game before we talk about the big one. The most anticipated by the, I want to say the Western community, the Western gaming community, the Avengers game, which they teased a while ago.
That got announced like 2 years ago.
2, 3. It was like brief too, like, oh, Square Enix is taking on the Avengers project, and everyone's like, ooh.
It was a while ago for sure.
And now we saw the trailer, and I'm like, what am I looking at?
That's what a lot of people were wondering.
Like, this is what I get after all this time of waiting. Like,
yeah, it's weird.
Like, I don't mind how the characters look, because obviously if they take how the actors look like, that's like probably like a licensing issue, I can assume.
Yeah.
That's like whatever. But like gameplay wise, it's like, what is it? Like from the trailers, I can't even tell what's going on. You control one hero at a time. It's over the shoulder kind of style, kind of game, action game. Like the I know it's still in like probably an alpha stage or whatever, but the graphics doesn't stand out to me as like, wow, this is a Square Enix game. Or the gameplay is like, okay, this looks cool. Like this is basically the opposite of what Ghostwire did for me. And the Avengers trailer had gameplay in it, and Ghostwire didn't. But one got me hyped and one didn't.
Avengers.
You see where I'm going with this?
Avengers felt very sterile. It was straight. It was cool that they showed off the voice actors, and they got a lot of big names on the title. They have Nolan North, they have Travis Willingham, they have Laura Bailey. I'm off the top of my head. I'm losing the other two, but point being, they got a lot of big names in the industry, and they have great chemistry together. Troy Baker is another one. Troy Baker's there, of course he is. And they showed them off, but they did this thing where instead of going, hey, like, how's the game? Like, talking to the voice actors just talked about their characters they're playing, which, you know, that's fair. That's what voice actors do, but it didn't really do a lot to get people hyped. The big thing was, they're like, oh, it's 4-player co-op. You get to play with your friends. You're like, okay. Like, that's neat, but it just looks so... It looks like a 2004 superhero game. In terms of gameplay. Like, visually, it looks pretty good.
They didn't show off the co-op part either in the trailer, did they? No.
And they're having a beta.
Individual hero. Yeah. They're having a beta.
Yeah, so...
Okay.
It's weird.
I somewhat expected this to be running on the 15 engine. It's basically the multiplayer portion of the game. The separate one. If they just took that and put Avengers skin on it, that's what I somewhat expected for this game.
No.
Open world, 4-player co-op. You get in a party, you go do like raids and stuff. Like, okay.
I mean, the weird thing is we also have Ultimate Alliance 3 coming out, which is...
I bet you that game will be better than this.
I mean, the other two are really fun. So, who knows?
I think this like game, like, again, it's like judging from initial trailers, which is a bad practice nowadays, which I still do anyway. But I think it's just missing. It's like the whole thing about like, what is it? I'm still confused about that. It's an action RPG game, co-op, whatever. But like, what is it? I'm still missing that factor.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I don't really have much to add. Like, it could be cool. It didn't really show well at the press conference, so they're clearly putting a lot of money and attention to it, as Avengers is quite hot right now with Endgame and all that. So we're just gonna have to see. But they have a lot to live up to, because Spider-Man PS4 is pretty kick-ass. And if they can't be as good or better than that, then they're gonna fail.
Name me a Square Enix developed action RPG game.
Deus Ex.
Like straight up action game.
Deus Ex.
No,
They
like,
published it just like Avengers, bitch. Tomb Raider. They published it,
action.
bitch.
Crystal Dynamics made that game.
Yeah, they're making this game. Square Enix. That's the thing. Square Enix only develops like 2 games at a time. Everything else is just they're publishing.
Okay, that's the point I forgot about. Like, you know, Crystal Dynamics is making this, right?
Yeah, and they made the new Tomb Raider games.
Is Tomb Raider really fast-paced action?
I don't know if I'd describe it as fast-paced, but it's pretty quick. It like the first Tomb Raider, the reboot, and Rise of the Tomb Raider are pretty good games. Like Rise of the Tomb Raider is considered to be quite good, and like it's just a different style of game. Like they're a competent developer. It's just up to whatever they're allowed to do. Like they clearly weren't allowed to use the movie likeness of the characters. Curious to see how it's going to pan out. Like it could be good, or it could just be really underwhelming.
I think Crystal Dynamics is great at what they do best. I might consider this a mismatch of sort. Maybe I'm probably wrong.
But who does it if not them? Who do you give it to?
Platinum Games.
If it's not like their main focus.
Like, if they're going for a cinematic feel, then yes, Crystal Dynamics is good for
Remember the last time Platinum Games was given a 4-player co-op game? We got Ninja Turtles.
Oh.
Which was trash.
I mean, who would you give it to if you had to choice? Because I can't really think of a developer that is known for making really fast-paced action games.
Give it to Ninja Theory.
Oh no. Avengers
Fuck
Cry.
you, Cap. Fuck you, Stark.
Not this time, bitch.
Fuck you, Cap. That's what it's gonna be.
My God. You know what? Screw it. Crystal Dynamics is a good film. Unless you give it to like Insomniac or something, but Crystal Dynamics will be good because they're really good at cinematic.
But they're doing
games.
stuff for Sony exclusively.
No, I'm not. I'm saying Crystal Dynamics is a good fit, or not a good fit, but like they're probably. It's a case of like who else would you get to do it? I think Crystal Dynamics it's a safe bet.
Yeah, I don't know really who would be the best fit.
Like I don't know why this theme of like the Avengers game seems like too broad of a game, you know?
It's generally going for a very broad appeal, so it's going to be mixed results. Speaking of broad appeal,
are we going to that now?
Get to it.
No, I just want to rabble on forever about things I will never get.
But things that you...
Speaking of things I will actually get this time around.
There you go.
Segue. Final Fantasy VII Remake Midgar. We finally saw Tifa, and that's all I needed. Tifa looks good. People complained, but fuck those people. Tifa looks great. Her design looks good. Her voice actor is sublime, breathtaking even. Her in-game action animation looks top-notch.
Tifa is too good for life. Like, it's actually crazy how... Because I know there's supposed to be a whole poll of the game of, like, who do you choose as your romantic interest? And they just made Tifa... Like, Tifa was already, like, the clear best choice back in the original game. But now it's, like, a just crazy one-sided affair.
Because you know what happens to the other girl, so why would you choose her if... You know,
if it's a personality thing, you know. If it's just like thing, if you're like, I think they make sense as a pair, but you're like, man, Tifa, you're really freaking. You look real good in this new design. You look like you're fun to play as, since the game is now an action RPG with full-on combos, and the battle system is being designed by the battle system developer and director of Kingdom Hearts 2,
which you don't know the name of.
I have the name. I am just double checking that I pronounce it correctly. Aha! His name. It's Mitsunori Takahashi.
There you go.
He is the one responsible for Kingdom Hearts 2's arguably best Japanese action RPG battle system. arguably.
Yes, arguably.
I mean,
and he also worked on the Cydia series.
I mean, I'll put it this way. I showed my brother, who's 13, the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer, and he's seen, like, all sorts of RPGs. I've gotten to try stuff like Fire Emblem. He's played other Final Fantasies. He's never really been interested. Like, Final Fantasy 15, he saw a trailer for it and was like, this looks dumb. He saw this trailer, and he was like, I want that day one.
Yay.
So,
he's learning.
I would say Final Fantasy VII Remake looks like the most produced game ever. The production values look absolutely insane.
There's so much time to work on it, too.
And there's going to be a lot of time to work on the other parts.
I hope this game is long enough to satisfy people's hunger for a while, because I heard there's enough content for 2 Blu-ray discs.
Supposedly there's 40 hours of Midgar.
Which I wouldn't mind.
Are you okay with that? Because the original Midgar section's like 5 or 6 hours in the original game.
From what I've seen, especially from the trailer where they added like the cloud flashback sections and they actually incorporated new elements to it, like the ghosts, and that you actually see Sephiroth during Cloud's like little quote-unquote flashback hallucinations, I think it'll be more expanded out with new content.
Well, yeah, it's going to be 40 hours.
Yeah. I'm okay with that, to be honest.
How come?
From what I heard, well, here's a bunch of theories I heard from people. The most convincing theory is that once you leave Midgar, like everything opens up, right?
Yeah.
I think you get access to like the airship.
Not right away. You have to.
Oh, not right away. But like
the
world
game's kind of
expands.
linear once you get out of Midgar. You have the option to roam around and do whatever, but it is like, hey, you got to go to this town, then this town, then this town. Then you got to get the buggy to go to this town. Then you got to go here to get the tiny Bronco to go to this town. Then you go to the Temple of the Ancients. Then stuff happens.
I think the length increased because they made it into an action game, because I have to program more. And I would rather have them expanded into like 2 to 3 possible parts rather than trying to cram everything into one game, trying to ship it as one game.
The one thing I will say about Midgar is that the opening hours, like the prologue of Final Fantasy VII, is arguably the most memorable part of it.
And maybe that's why they're trying to focus on it.
Well, I think they're focusing on it because it's just too much to work on everything else. Which
and
makes
to continue,
sense.
My theory is like once they get out of Midgar, by that point, the PS5 is probably released by then, and at that point, they can actually go beyond what they originally planned. And since they have more horsepower for it, they can add more stuff to it.
I'm just hoping it's feasible to be able to add that stuff. Like if they are capable of it, because my 10 cents is I don't want Final Fantasy 15 open world where it's really boring, it's empty. Every quest is the same. You're either hunting a monster or you're running up, grabbing something, running up, killing a mob, running back, talking to a random NPC, and that's it. I don't want it to be a boring open world that feels like lifeless, that feels empty and devoid of anything cool. Like Midgar's a really cool city. Final Fantasy VII has a lot of shit to do and find, and if they can nail that sense of like wonderment and give me engaging content, like I'm all on board. And the other thing I'd say is, if you're gonna remake a game, make it a different thing. Don't give me the exact same game, because I have the original game. That's my big takeaway. Is I'd rather play something different than play the same game again.
I think that's the thing too, right? Because they made it into an action game, which means they need to add more elements to it rather than just a static,
like
traditional RPG. They need to add more movements. They need to actually like program hitboxes, like animation cutscenes.
The boss fight in the first reactor.
Like that looks like it takes way longer than the actual fight.
The actual fight in the game is like 2 minutes.
And this
you
like
just
it takes
keep
like 15
bolt
or 20.
And don't attack with the tails up. This thing's way more involved. There's way more mechanics in play. And because it's an action RPG, there's a whole system of rewarding player skill that you can't really incorporate in a turn-based game. Turn-based games are based off of knowledge. Action RPGs are more mechanically demanding. So there's more they can do.
And I think that's why they need to push it to like 3 different games. And I don't mind them pushing to 3 different games because some of the later bosses, they're going to be like larger than size. Once you go after all like the weapons, like the gem weapons, those might take like,
who knows?
I don't know, maybe like Dark Soul level like boss fights, if the scale goes as I expect it to be. And yeah, like I don't really mind them like spreading over to like multiple parts.
Yeah.
If the game is good enough, I'm willing to wait for it, and I'm surprisingly willing to give money for it. And if people are complaining that like we don't get the whole game experience, like you're comparing a game that came out like what, like early
1997.
Yeah, 1997 up till now, like games are way more demanding
like
in terms of
years
development.
later.
Like, doesn't matter how much money or like staff that Square Enix has.
It's gonna take
like that's
forever.
like, it's gonna take forever.
Yeah.
Especially with the transition. Like it's a remake, not a remaster. If it was a remaster, then yeah, like why aren't they doing it in one game? But it's like people need to get that through their head. Remake means they're literally remaking it from scratch.
It's a reimagining. The key important thing is they keep the spirit of the original game, but they still create a new, unique, and worthwhile experience. That's the big thing. Like, here's a good example. Trials of Mana is now playable in English. I just looked at footage for the remake, and outside of the new perspective and obviously new visuals and some of the battle mechanics being altered, it looks like 1-to-1. The bosses are the same. They are more or less the same experience. Like there's no voice acting. There's no redone music. Like it looks like outside of like the changes to the visual style, it looks more or less the same. Do I have value in that? Like, do I need to go pick that up and play it after downloading the original? I don't have a lot of incentive to. But if it was a completely reimagined version of that game, I would probably be more inclined to try it. And I think that's why Final Fantasy VII looks really promising. And it looks fun. And I'm curious to see where it goes. My only gripe being, am I going to get sick of Final Fantasy VII? If they drag it out for like, let's say each part takes like 5 years to develop, am I going to have the patience to wait for part 3? Will players have the patience? How many are going to be able to keep going and keep going forward with it?
Yeah, especially because the gamers who played 7 back in like the originals are reaching their like 30s and 40s even.
It's a lot to ask.
I think the success of I don't know if they're even going to call it part 1, 2, or 3. That's also like a good question to ask. Like, what are they going to name the future ones? Like, it's going to call it part 2? Whatever.
I don't know.
Like, the point being, if they measure the success on the first one, like, they might literally I would hold off on, like, releasing Final Fantasy 16. Just put all my efforts into just getting this out the door. I know they're, like, have separate teams for it, but even
they're
then.
probably at some point going to announce 16, and then they'll be like, then it'll come out in, like, a decade. But I'm really excited about the remake. I think it's going to be really good.
Did you say rebate?
Remake.
I'm excited about the rebate.
I'm excited about my Final Fantasy rebate. It's going to give me enough money to purchase the remake.
Can we talk about the special edition real quick?
Go for it.
Holy shit.
That's a lot of moolah.
Okay. Here's the thing. The figure that comes... Oh, okay. Let's rewind it a bit. They announced 3 different version SKUs for the remake. The standard edition, which just comes with the game as always. The premium edition, which comes with the steelbook, 2 summons, art book, and audio CD for the soundtrack. There's a first class edition, which comes with everything I just said for the premium edition, and it comes with the Player Arts Kai figure of Cloud on a Shinra motorcycle. And it costs $329 USD.
How much is that in moose dollars?
Motherfucking $480 before taxes ish.
And before shipping.
Here's a kicker: the Square Enix store only offers one form of shipping. The first priority shipping, which I'm guessing is some USPS bullcrap, it costs $89 USD, which costs $100 in Canadian. This is the equivalent of Apple selling their fucking monitor with a $1,000 monitor stand. You don't know what that is, but trust me on that.
Sure.
Now, here's the grand total comes to roughly about 600 Canadian dollars for a game with a statue.
Not a statue, a Figma.
Figma.
Which normally goes for a normal Figma goes for roughly somewhere between 60 to maybe 80 Canadian. So the Figma alone probably would cost like 130, 150 alone.
No, this is a statue. It's not a Figma.
Are you sure? It looks like it's a Figma. It looks like he has joints you can pose.
No, this is the PlayArts Kai version. Like the actual like high resolution
which are expensive. So that alone would probably cost like what, $150?
Ish. Like the Advent Children's are like $300. You're basically paying for the statue. Here's a kicker before you go on.
I don't have anything to add. It's just crazy.
I was talking to my coworker about this, and he showed me his collection because he owns the Advent Children one.
Oh no.
There are two versions of the Advent Children one, apparently. The first one and the second one. The second one being more shiny, and it's the one from, the bike that opens up has all the swords. He showed me that if you remove some of the parts, it basically becomes what the remake one is. So they might be just reusing some existing mold for this. And I was like, what the fuck? Why am I paying $300?
Because you suckers want it!
We can't see because of the audio format. Imagine me making a small pinching thing. I was that close to purchasing this thing because I was.
You had it in your shopping cart. Didn't you click pre-order?
No, I didn't. I stopped myself because wait, $600 gets me a lot of money, and my brain was like, elaborate.
Wait, I could buy every game announced at E3 for $600. That's a lie. You could buy almost 6 games for $600.
I can guarantee get a PS5 or a new graphics card for that money.
Or I could get this cool statue of Cloud.
Or just pay my car lease. I don't know.
Or pay rent or buy food.
Or I told myself if this was Tifa, I would have probably bought it.
Wow.
But no, it's Klaus. I don't give a fuck.
Thy will be weak.
Boobs. Yeah. So almost got suckered in, just like the Shadowbringer one. Something about hype is an interesting thing.
Does crazy things to people.
It makes you spend money. It makes you think. It makes you put on rose-tinted glasses and think the world's a beautiful place.
It makes you make some questionable decisions.
It makes you high. Hype is a drug.
High on nostalgia.
Hype is a drug. And those who can utilize hype will get money, apparently.
And they're sold out of this edition, so it worked.
Square Enix sent me an email saying, "Oh, did you forget to pre-order this statue?
Why don't you spend some more money, pal?
It's still in your cart. Do you just want to press that pre-order button? We're holding it for you.
$100 shipping, bud.
What else? It's Cloud.
Cloud-kun.
But yeah, I just ordered the premium edition from EB Games.
Such restraint.
Only. Not the bare minimum, but the medium. You know what? I'm losing my mind. I got it. Okay, I got it. $100. Not bad. I don't know. I pre-ordered it, but I might cancel to get the normal one, especially if they're gonna do the multiple parts.
That we already know. You realize that that at some point in the future there's going to be a mega ultimate super ultimate soldier edition. That's going to be all 3 parts. It's going to be all the characters and their statues. It's going to be everything, and it's going to be $1,000.
I read this on Twitter that it's going to divide up into parts where the first game is going to be Midgar, and second game will lead up to the heiress dying. Spoilers. And the third game will basically be after she dies. So here's the thing: the first.
So that's just disc 1.
First game is the Cloud statue. Second statue will be Aerith, and with the Cloud doing this pose.
Cloud doesn't do that. You're thinking of Sephiroth.
Sephiroth, yeah. Sephiroth will be like doing this with Aerith praying. That's the second statue. And the third statue will be just Cloud and Sephiroth doing like their initial pose before the final fight.
Nah, it'll be Cloud in a wheelchair.
Oof. Would you buy a Sephiroth statue? I think that is like a high possibility.
I wouldn't, but people would.
I'm just saddened by all this. But at least the game looks nice and Tifa looks nice, and that's all that matters. Tifa looks nice. I wonder if they're going to introduce like alternate costumes.
Maybe. I mean, they're probably going to have like DLC stuff. I'm sure there'll be a pack for the Advent Children costumes because those are a popular design.
That would be very nice because I love Tifa's outfit for Advent Children. I don't know why.
Say?
It makes her look hip. Also, one detail I really liked in the remake is that different weapons actually appear in game rather than just
like in the original.
Yep, I'm glad they kept that.
And materia slots are used on your weapons.
That hole actually makes sense now for the Buster Sword. What was the hole for? You
stick
shoved
your
the materia in there.
Oh.
Dicteria in there.
Yeah, it's for materia.
Stick your dicteria in there.
For materia.
Gain massive powers. I wonder where other people put their materials for other characters.
Shit's phallic.
Does Tifa just put it on the gauntlets?
Yes. Don't go anywhere else with this. I've seen things.
Because the Advent Children one, the guy puts it in his. They literally put it in their forearms.
It just goes into your It
literally just goes
absorbed in Advent Children, but.
We'll leave it at
Let's just say, in the event of all these announcements, there's been a lot of artwork floating around on Twitter.
Dude, people are complaining that they think that Tifa's breast got nerfed, which I don't agree with.
I mean, the original artwork she was like super squished, so she had exaggerated proportions, like her tube arms and stuff like that. So her chest got like expanded in like that version, but she looks amazing. People who say that she does not are wrong.
I will say she does look a bit thin.
She looks slightly she looks a little
thin.
Cutified. I always thought Tifa was a more like mature character.
Tough, yeah.
I'd say mature in that, like, I always got a vibe she was like a little older than Cloud and like a little older than Aerith. But in the remake, it looks like Aerith is
the
older than her.
Older one, yeah.
And Tifa looks younger because like they cutified her a bit. But she looks good, and her design is pretty faithful to the original version. So
she is never leaving my party.
I mean, there you go.
Avar.
Even though Yuffie's optimal.
Who cares about optimal?
Yuffie and Sid and Cloud is optimal party.
I thought everyone just goes Cloud, Red 13, and Vincent.
No, Vincent's like not optimal. He's the best magic user, but he's not optimal.
I saw people using Red 13 a lot though.
He is okay. He gets a really overpowered item at near halfway at Disc 1.
Oh my god, can you imagine him being super animated?
Can you imagine that scene where Hojo's going to try to get him and Eris to fuck?
Yeah, people are talking about like what scenes are they actually going to keep.
I mean, how much of Don Corneo are they going to keep?
What's Cloud cross-dressing going to look like? It's going to blow up the internet.
How they could explain that women just show up to Don Corneo's house to fuck him?
Are they going to remake the scene where Tifa has a slap war on the top of the bridge?
Are they going to remake the scene where they all threaten to harm Don Corneo's dick while his dick's out?
Can you get over the dick thing? You're acting really weird today. Ever since the boob slider.
Dude, you can't get any weirder than 6 boobs anywhere.
Only Don sticks. Alright. Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Game of show.
Game of show.
Absolutely.
The end. Alright, wrapping up other stuff that Square Enix announced. They announced DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3.
In the most boring fucking fashion possible. a trailer with a single music track playing over it, no voice acting, and just giant text on screen.
Expositions.
Holy crap, I do not look forward to this DLC. Holy fuck, I'm so done with Kingdom Hearts. Oh my god.
Is it even a DLC if you think about it? You just get to play as other characters in the same boss battles.
I don't know.
Which
I honestly don't know the full extent of what this DLC will be, but I'm not really crazy about it.
I mean, you get new forms. You get the Oathkeeper form now, which is
You get
great,
the
I guess.
Oathkeeper Keyblade, but...
And which means that you get the Oblivion one soon, I guess.
I don't know.
That was also a popular
They
one.
didn't really show anything in that 1 minute and 50-second trailer to excite me. I thought it was very underwhelming, and it's expanding on stuff that I don't think needs to be expanded upon, so I don't really care.
Perfect. And I think that was it for the major news for the Square Enix section, unless you can think of other things to talk about.
Nope.
Then we will move on to the final
Fantasy!
We're now moving to the final level of E3. The quote-unquote savior of E3. Nintendo.
They sure showed off a lot of video games.
They sure showed off a lot of ports.
They sure did.
And we talked about most of them because we're smart, so we can talk about the good stuff.
Yup, we're smart, alright.
Alright, let's start off with the small ones that we don't know anything about before we go into the stuff we know everything about. Breath of the Wild 2 got teased.
Hey, it looks like Breath of the Wild.
But spookier.
And maybe dungeons?
Zelda has shorter hair.
Maybe evil Ganon underneath the castle?
So many fan art of Zelda having shorter hair.
Hey, do you know she got a haircut?
She has shorter hair.
Hey, there's some spooky stuff down there.
But Zelda has shorter hair.
She does. There's not really much to comment on because it was basically them saying, hey, guess what, fuckers? We're developing more Zelda. Who would have thought?
But I'm glad the direction they're taking it, because I think someone said like it might be darker than Majora's Mask. Which I love.
There's no basis for that. We saw 20 seconds of nothing.
Spooky. No, I think they talked to a developer.
That's a lot of hearsay. Like, people would argue Twilight Princess is darker than Majora's Mask, and Nintendo certainly thought so, but that is not the case.
Nothing will be darker than Majora's Mask. That initial trailer freaked the fuck out of me when I was a kid.
It was a freaky-ass game. But, I mean, it's cool that there's more Zelda. I'm personally more excited about the Link's Awakening remake. I actually pre-ordered it during this podcast, so that's coming out soon in September. It's going to be good.
I heard it was bad.
From fucking who?
Now, let me
From
elaborate.
who?
People who actually play the game at E3.
Who? Name me one.
Matt from the Yo Video Games.
Yeah, but he's a jaded asshole, so who gives a fuck?
Wow. Anyway, but the common consensus was, well, bad is a bad word, but I heard there's frame rate issues, and you know how we talked about how some remakes are like this 1-to-1?
Yeah.
This is one of the scenarios, and there's frame rate issues, and there's some areas where it might be a glitch, maybe not, but like music doesn't play where it should be, kind of thing.
I'm assuming that are just bugs. It's not coming. It's not.
And
yet.
the game just plays like the original, and it's just a facelift. Now I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that's a general consensus.
Because the consensus is too is that Link's Awakening is one of the best designed Zelda games. It's one of the most unique, and the biggest thing holding it back, way back when this was first announced, and we talked about it in this podcast, was that in the original game you only had access to 2 buttons. Now you have access to a whole bunch.
Jump and kill a menu, and
so now you can do a bunch of shit with all the buttons. You don't have to constantly go back to the menu, which instantly makes this play a million times better. And goddamn,
I like how it looks.
Link looks so precious. This game's gonna be great.
They announced the amiibo for him.
And it looks good. It's gonna be good. I'm really excited about it.
I hope you're happy with your purchase.
Me too. I imagine it'll be a great remake of a great game.
I hope it doesn't suffer with frame rate issues, which they can fix over patches, I guess. But
and the
I
game's
will wait
not out
for
yet.
the jury. I will wait for the jury. Next announced game, No More Heroes 3.
Meh.
I'm actually excited.
I mean,
No More Heroes 1 and 2
after
was
how
good.
good Travis Strikes Back was,
But this is a main number in the series. That's why that means it's going to be good.
What was Suda 50? Was Suda 51's last game before Travis Strikes Back?
Dot, dot, dot. What did that
That
mean?
game with like Uncle Death or whatever is a free to play game.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah. What before that?
I don't
It's been
know,
10 years since No More Heroes, so I'll be curious. I'm a little weirded out because Travis Strikes Back was kind of like this weird last hurrah, and they brought in a different voice actor for that, and then now they have the original voice actor back. I don't know, it's weird.
Let It Die was the game you're
Yeah.
thinking of.
I mean,
Hey, why not?
it could be cool. Again, we didn't actually get gameplay, so I don't know.
But we did get in-game cutscenes.
No, we didn't.
I mean,
There's no way that's in game.
for that game,
It was clearly a
can
CG
they even make a
trailer.
CG? Using in-game assets though,
How do you know?
like full. Because what's the point of making a full CG like
Because
trailer
that's
for
how they
that
get
specific
people
game?
excited about games. That's what you just
No,
were
no,
gushing about.
think
for
about it.
Fucking Dwyer.
No, think about it. That fucking game is freaking cell shaded. Like, even if it's CG, like
you
you'll
can
be
sell shade a CG trailer.
no.
You see what Switch games look like. You know they don't look like that.
I mean, it's never been on Switch before. It's all in the like Wii U games.
God.
I mean, it doesn't even look that good of a CG. Though.
Yeah, because
that's what I'm convinced.
Grasshopper has a shoestring budget. Travis Strikes Back looked like dog shit.
I'm looking at it right now, but like,
It's not in game. It's not, Andy.
if it's in game, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Why?
Cause you always say I'm wrong, but I'm usually right. Moving on, we got 2 more to cover, and then that should be. Oh my god, this E3 podcasts are tiring.
Yep, I'm
one
tired.
thing.
It's getting late.
All right, let's do the one that you care about, kind of, not really. The new fighters for Smash has been announced. One for the East and one for the West. The East got Dragon Quest hero character, and the West got Banjo and Kazooie.
They got Dragon Quest Protagonist, who's based off the Dragon Quest 11 one, but then they have alternate color and costume schemes for Dragon Quest 3, which is the most popular one in Japan, Dragon Quest 4, Dragon Quest 8, and am I missing one? Or is that all 4? It's 4 of them, right?
Yep.
They got
Because 11
the
comes in
biggest
before.
ones. I wish 5 could have got shown off, but he looks pretty weird compared to the other ones.
And from what I saw, you can choose like different magic
Yeah.
in the command menu.
Yeah, I'll be curious.
Was that dependent on the skin or?
No, I think that's just different magic they're showing off. So I'll be really curious to see how they actually play, but I thought they looked really cool. It's cool that they finally got one of the most important IPs in their game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Dragon Quest's really cool. I think he looks way more fun to play than Banjo and Kazooie.
Which the Western audiences were super hyped about.
I never really got why, just because it's so obscure and
It was one of the biggest games for N64.
Yeah,
you gotta
but
admit that.
it's
I know-
easy to be a big game for the N64 when there's no games for the N64.
I think the public image has been tarnished because of the whole Xbox 360 versions, where it just became a Minecraft kart racing simulator or whatever the hell that was for Xbox 360, when Rare was going through a phase. But I think Sakurai somehow pleased both the East and Western audience, but at the same time caused the super debate amongst the community, because the Western audience is saying, what the hell is Dragon Quest? And the Eastern community is like, what the hell is Banjo-Kazooie?
Apparently, a lot of people in Japan were like super hyped about Banjo-Kazooie, and it was trending.
Really?
Apparently.
Well, I can speak for the Western one because I saw so many threads about people complain to another Sword Boy.
I mean,
and
that's
B, people barely know what Dragon Quest is outside of like 11 and 8.
Most of the Smash player base is 15.
I mean, they could have played Dragon Quest.
Yeah, but most of them are like people. Most people who play Smash only play Smash. They don't know. They don't know half the characters in the goddamn game.
But they know Banjo-Kazooie.
They certainly do.
Which I think is the whole, like, just a sheep syndrome, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
they don't actually know. But if they're, like, popular streamer / player knows it, they're like, oh, yeah, I like that, too. It's a whatever. I mean, that takes up 2 of the DLC slot now, right? Along with Joker, that's 3.
Yeah.
Wait, does this count as a DLC guest slot, or is it just...
I don't know. It's a good question.
Because it's not really like a guest, because like Banjo. Oh no, I guess it is if you think about it. You know what? I don't really care. I haven't even bought Joker. So, did you buy Joker?
I have the fighter pass, so I'll get all of them.
Oh lord. Yeah, I haven't even really touched Smash ever since like the Piranha Plant DLC. So yeah, it's been a hot minute about Smash. All right, here's the final one. We have reached it. The final game that we can talk about. I know there was like Luigi's Mansion 3 and the game that Platinum's making where you have like cybernetic wolves that help you fight. And it kind of looks like a Freedom Wars on the PSP / Sword Art Online. But you know what? We'll talk about those later. But Pokemon Sword and Shield. More info, more game mechanics talked about.
More corgis.
More controversies about character design, and more controversies about company decisions. Which one do you want to tackle first?
I honestly don't care about any of it. Most of the complaints about character design is really stupid and dumb. It's just
She's showing too much
it's
skin.
just left wing, typical left wing idealism. It's just like people already have dispelled it. They've gone, look at what Olympic athletes wear. It's literally what she's wearing.
Misty wears.
Misty wears less and she was younger.
And people ate it up.
Where was your outrage?
You don't care because Misty's white? Is that why?
Or do you not care because she was 11?
I actually like the new gym leader design. She's very stylish. I like it.
Yeah.
Although she has fucking tubes on her shoes, which is kind of odd.
It's a fashion statement.
Don't tell me it's a flotation device, motherfucker. We talked about Pokemon the last podcast, right?
Yes, because that's where they actually announced it.
Yeah, and we talked about the whole Dynamax thing.
Yep.
Yada yada
They
yada.
showed off more.
So they actually had a demo at E3, which led up to the gym battle, and you had 2 more Pokemons introduced: a heart-shaped ass corgi, and a little yokai watch-looking imp thing. Very progressive. But I think the most important news that came out of this is that you can't bring over any Pokemon from the previous games that are not part of the Galar region anymore.
Yeah.
And if you go on the Pokemon Reddit, every single top thread right now, it's about people talking about why the sudden decision to not allow it anymore ever since like the previous games all did it. And there's the biggest argument is like, oh, there's too many Pokemons to like animate or 3D.
It's too much work, too many models, too much. It's just too much. It's going to take too long.
But the counter argument is they already made all the 3Ds are ready to go because they had to make it for X and Y onwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a debate right now of what's going to happen. Is Game Freak's actually going to like say go back on their word? The word from Japan is that this is their new company policy going forward, that they're not going to allow. They're going to try to limit the amount of Pokemon in each game because the amount is getting kind of ridiculous at this point.
Oh,
because
no one but themselves to blame.
Yeah, that's what you get for like, introducing so many Pokemon. But I kind of understand from both sides, and I think the biggest people who are affected by this are those people who are like breeders and or professional players, and people who take like EV and IV training seriously, and people who play competitive Pokemon.
I think the
seriously.
people that are affected the most is just the people who want to play, like they want to use their favorite Pokemon, and there's a chance your favorite Pokemon might not be in it, which is shitty because that's like half the fun of Pokemon is making your favorite team.
Which my stance is kind of opposite against that, because every new Pokemon game I play, I tend to find my new team within that game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a big part of it too. But it's also a huge part to pick your favorites. Like imagine they didn't have like Garchomp. That'd be huge. People would be pissed.
Even if they introduce a new dragon type though?
They always introduce new dragon types.
Yeah.
But there's some that are staples. Especially if you're going to get to competitive and whatnot.
Oh yeah, like I think that's my point. Like it really affects those who are like competitive. Like I kind of get like you want to play with your favorite Pokemon in the new region, I guess, if you're like that kind of attachment. But I don't see it from that angle, to be honest. Like, what's your take on this?
I think it.
Do you care?
I think it's kind of shitty because there's Pokemon I really like to use if they're available. Like I'm a big fan of Ampharos, and if I can get Ampharos in game, I'll generally try to. But there's not much I can do if this is like the limitations they're under. Like I also like catching new Pokemon and testing out stuff, but it's a two-sided street. Like for every new Pokemon that I like, there's probably going to be like 5 that I like that might not be in the game. I don't know what their actual limitations are. Maybe it's a thing of there's only like 100 Pokemon missing. But it's at the point, and we kind of discussed this earlier or last time with Pokemon, but there's so many mechanics in Pokemon. There's so much baggage. There's Mega Evolutions. There's Pokemon
Z
combinations.
moves.
There's Z moves. There's Alolan versions. There's Alpha versions. There's Primal Super versions. There's like all this shit.
Pokemon Fusion.
There's Dynamax versions. There's so much. And I think it's getting to the point where they're suffering from all the bloat of their series. So they need to resolve that, or we're at the point where they just have to keep going by subtracting.
I think this is their way of like trying to deal with it, as you said, but it's just it's not a decision that the player base is going to be happy with.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those like necessary evils that need to happen.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
We don't have much choice.
I think they also adds onto the fire because they introduce this whole like, oh, Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Home or whatever. And they're
then now
nope,
just to be like, nope.
It's only for the future game onwards.
I hope you didn't save all your favorite Pokemon that might not be in here. Teehee.
One thing I will say that was a weird experience for me is how, X and Y, if you beat the game, they gave you like the starters from the previous games.
Yep.
That kind of ruined it for me in a way because I had my initial 6 I beat the game with. And then you give me the starters from the previous games, which are super good. And I'm sitting there going like, okay, I have to level these up again, and they're better than my current team. Like it was kind of weird.
For X and
like,
Y or Black and White?
Wasn't X and Y the one where they
X
gave you,
and
like,
Y, they gave you a lot of free Pokemon during the main game. So you got your starter, your Kanto starter, at like before the first gym.
And then when you beat the game, you get the Johto ones, don't you?
Yeah. So you get even more. But that's mainly for collection. But the point being, they gave you a lot of freebies in that game, so...
Which I didn't like, to be honest, because it kind of made it too easy, and it also took away from the fact it didn't make me go after the new ones.
Yeah.
Because why do I go after the new ones if I know these, like the original Kanto ones, are way better?
Also, there's something I want to address about the Final Fantasy VII remake trailer that they showed up at E3 that I don't know if you caught. When Sephiroth taunts Cloud?
It's what Zach says.
That's fucked up.
That's fucked
That's
up.
fucked up. I love it.
Also, I really turned. Don't you find it weird when Sephiroth says that line? You gotta run away, Cloud. You gotta let it go.
Well, initially when I
tone.
saw it, I thought he was saying that because, he needs Cloud for his whole plan.
Yeah.
I thought that's why, and then someone was like, dude, that's what Zach said when he was, like, dying. And I was like, oh, fuck, is this gonna be those scenes in 7 when Cloud's, like, grabbing his head, writhing in pain, and the screen goes red, he gets the voice in his head? Is that what this is? It's a visualization of that?
Yeah, that's like the new content they're adding in. Like even with the ghoul scene where like Aerith and Cloud are like getting surrounded by the ghosts, that's all new stuff. That wasn't in the actual that wasn't in the original game.
That wasn't either. So I'll be curious to see how it pans out.
That's how the game is going to be 40 hours long. All these included things. But yeah, Pokemon. I still pre-ordered it. Regardless of what happens, Pokemon's still a single player experience for me. So
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not feeling it, so I'm okay. There's enough to spend my money on.
So I think with that, all the major news is covered.
Fire Emblem Three Houses showed off that there is a time skip and that your player-created character avatar gets silver hair, making him just like Robin and Corrin. Oh, yeah.
I kind of forgot about it because you told me, quote unquote, this might be a Fire Emblem game I might actually skip.
Yeah.
End quote.
I will say the time skip stuff they showed made me way more interested because they showed, hey, it's not only going to be high school, military high school. It's actually going to be about other stuff.
No, I want the high school stuff only.
There's going to be a shit ton of that. That's still the main focus.
Woo!
Which is shitty. But that's the main focus. They're also bringing back marriage because people can't live without their goddamn shipping. But they confirmed no child units, which I'm happy for because I only want that in games where the whole generation system matters. Sure. Had no business being in Fates.
Are you still getting it though?
I don't know. I'm not really. There's already like Shadowbringers coming out that month. And there's a lot of stuff coming out near the end of June, so I'm not in a rush. I could live waiting for a sale.
Oh,
or
wow.
waiting till my birthday, or something like that. Like, I'm okay waiting.
Isn't Death Stranding coming on your birthday?
It comes out the day after, and I pre-ordered it during this podcast.
Wow, such dedication and focus.
Well, it was on sale.
Sure.
$60 instead of $79.99.
That's been the prices all along on Amazon for the past 2 weeks.
It could go up.
No, it won't.
It could.
Anyway. I think one thing to touch up on is notable omissions from this other than Sony. Capcom only showed Monster Hunter World.
Yep.
DLC. Which I'm kind of sad about because people were thinking that they might announce Resident Evil 3 Remake using the RE2 engine.
I mean, if that's all they're going to do is remake RE games, I'd hope that they would do more.
I also hope that they would kind of remake Onimusha in using the RE engine or something like that. I kind of speculated on that when they announced it, but that didn't happen. Konami didn't do anything this year either.
They showed off a new Contra game and the Contra collection.
That's it, right?
Yeah, but they did more than most publishers.
But that was just during the Nintendo conference, wasn't it?
It was part of that, yes. And the new Contra game looks rough.
I heard it's... I didn't even know it was a Contra game when I first saw it. I was like, what is this?
It's a different perspective, and it looked pretty janky.
Any other developer you thought that was going to be E3 that didn't show anything? Atlas didn't come either this time.
They had a Persona 5 Royal trailer. That's all they really needed to do. They showed up. They're demoing Catherine full body. I wasn't really expecting a lot. I'd say if anything, I'm a little disappointed with the From Software stuff. I was hoping to see more out of
Elden
Elden
Rings?
Ring.
No Bloodborne 2.
I mean, I'm not expecting Bloodborne
He.
2.
Especially when they just like released Akira like not that long ago. I'm actually surprised no like update for Bloodborne 2.
Yeah.
Who knows? Or Bloodborne PC for one thing. Like, don't they like money? Also, no new fighting game announcement of anything this year. No Tekken deal, no Tekken Season 3 teaser or anything. No Street Fighter 5 anything. We got Samurai Showdown trailers here and there, but that wasn't really part of E3, I don't think.
Also, do you know what we forgot to talk about? That was a random announcement. Panzer Dragoon remake.
Yes.
That was so weird.
Much like the Phantasy Star Online 2 announcement.
Yeah, but I'm glad they exist. I'm glad it happened. It's just out of the blue.
I guess.
But we're nearing 2 hours, Andy. Are we calling it? Is this it? Have we discussed E3 2019 in its glorious entirety?
Give me your
Game of show.
anticipated game for the coming future, and disappointment. Go.
Biggest disappointment, I'm going to say, is Contra, because I really liked their Contra, what was it called? Rebirth, that they did on the WiiWare. I thought that was a really fun Contra game. And they go, we're going to do a new Contra game, and it looks like absolute garbage. So I was pretty bummed out by that. As for Game of Show, I think it has to be Final Fantasy VII Remake. Nothing else impressed like that. As for one I'm looking forward to the most, there's a lot to look forward to, especially this year. I'm somewhere between like Link's Awakening, I'm really excited about. Death Stranding technically wasn't at E3, but I'm excited for that.
Nope.
Kind of cheating, but I'm really excited about the Dragon Quest XI Switch port.
Which did not get an E3 discount. I'm so mad.
Yeah,
I gotta pay full price for that.
I already paid full price for the PS4 version. Now I'm gonna pay full price for this new version. So
don't you feel cheated?
No, because it's a willing choice I made. Because I played like 10 hours the PS4 version, and then they announced the Switch port, and I was like,
trade it in. Trade your PS4 copy.
I don't think it's worth anything anymore. I think it's better off just holding on to.
Ooh.
But I'm really excited to play that. That might be the one I'm most forward to looking to.
All right, let's go over my obvious answers that you know. Game of Show, Final Fantasy VII. Most anticipated game, Ghostwire. And then most disappointment, I have to say The Avengers. Because I thought... Well, to be honest, I don't know what I was expecting for that game, but with all the hype they're building it up, I thought that it was going to be something that I would be excited for, but once I actually saw it, I'm like, eh. I know some people are saying like, oh, the graphics are great, the gameplay looks great, but initial thing, no, it doesn't do anything for me. I mean, I hope I see more of it in the near future, and like, as like the little hope I have, maybe in like Crystal Dynamics will like blow me out of the water again, make it like super good. But you know, I gotta say it was a bit disappointing to me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's a good pick. It was what I would describe as underwhelming.
And then adding on to that, no other announcement from Capcom is a big hit for me, especially with their record like announcing like, oh, DMC5 and Monster Hunter World and Resident Evil 2, so like hotcakes.
Yeah. Oh.
Why aren't they using that momentum to announce new games using the same engine?
They
which is
probably
great?
need more time.
Or they might announce it during the PlayStation State of Play.
Fighting game thing they're going to announce during the end of Capcom Cup.
World Pro Tour. I think they might announce it for PlayStation State of Play for all the new Capcom teases. They have to.
They could.
Like, what's the point of holding it on?
I don't know.
Also, new Tekken 7 Season 3 info, anything.
Or a new Tekken game.
No.
You don't think so?
No. Unless they do like another like dream match kind of situation with like Tekken 7 engine.
Or they do
maybe Tekken
Tag 3.
I don't think they will,
You don't
because like the
think
Tekken Tag 2 didn't do that well as I expected compared to Tekken Tag 1. And people didn't like it either on the competitive side. That's why they yarned it for like Tekken 7. Looking forward to like Sam's show, but that's another story.
Yeah. That's also the end of the month.
Yep, we have a lot of things to talk about in the near future, which is good for me as a content creator. We actually have things to talk about.
Hooray!
Fuck yeah. Before we sign off, I just want to ask you about your opinion on something. Square Enix conference, the way they organized what they showed and when in terms of like progression, I thought it was a dumb move showing Final Fantasy VII from the get-go, because it literally made people not focus on anything but the like Final Fantasy VII.
But that's what they want. That's what they
I
wanted.
think they should. No, I know that's what they wanted, but they should just showed it after the Avengers.
I don't think it's dumb. I think it's just unfair to everyone else who's a part of that.
That's why it's dumb.
it's
Life is Strange got so much.
That game got shafted.
I feel so sad. That was so bad, dude. Like everyone's still like talking about, oh my god, Final Fantasy VII, Life is Strange. So I'm like, why, dude?
Why did you do this?
Like show the trailer, show Avengers, and then just end it with that. You know the initial screen they showed before the show started with the menu. If they went to black after Avengers and showed that would have been like.
But they got the conversation about the main thing they want people. They got the game they want to sell like 100 million copies of out there, and everyone's talking about it. So that's what they wanted.
I mean, regardless of like how they showed it, they would have sold.
No, but they want that to be the whole conversation.
I guess.
So that's why. Otherwise, I need to get the fuck to sleep.
No, we have more news to cover. No, I'm kidding. Shenmue 3 is only on Epic Store. We're done.
Sucks
you don't
to
care
be
about
a
Shenmue 3.
Kickstarter backer.
Well, glad I got on the PS4, so I don't have to deal with that shit.
Glad I just waited for the smoke to clear.
Thank you for joining us and for this one hell of a podcast, which I'm super surprised that me and Darren and I could talk this long about video games. We could, but Darren needs his beauty sleep, so thank you for joining us in this episode. Again, this podcast is available on major podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, Podbean, and if they approve us, Stitcher. It's a weekly podcast. I upload every Thursday on audio form and followed by YouTube VOD on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/lastbluestv sometime in the weekend. My Twitter handle is @lastblues. It's a personal Twitter, but you can comment, DM me about your comments about the show and leave us any feedback. And Darren's Twitter is @gamingpilgrim. He does the same thing. He also has a YouTube channel, and he will eventually stream.
Allegedly.
Yeah, progress is going good for us so far. We're almost reaching the double-digit podcast. Hopefully we can keep it up. I think we're making good strides. I don't know how you feel, though.
Well, otherwise, you're gonna finish it.
Huh?
I
already said my Twitter.
No! The Keanu Reeves bit.
Oh, what kind of hell is that?
I was just saying, use that to end it.
Wow. You know, every time I do this podcast with you, it's just like, I hope when people listen to it, it'll be like breathtaking to them. And that's how when you come in and you say you're breathtaking. That's how you do a setup.
Remember, listeners, you're breathtaking.
We appreciate you, and you're breathtaking. And we hope you join us for all the future episodes.